singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
Today, we travel back to the 1950s to answer the question, does Singin' in the Rain hold up today?
Well, I have a fun fact. I had a 103 temperature when he did that scene.
Plus, will Seth stump me on this episode's trivia question?
The Broadway ballet sequence took a month to rehearse and 2 weeks to shoot, costing $600,000. True or false?
Finally, we'll answer the most important question. How are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at Grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic? Grab your snacks and get ready to sing along or mumble along. It's time to watch another movie at Grandma's. Hello, please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House, where we love to watch movies from our childhood to answer the question, does it still hold up? And is it family friendly enough that even Grandma will approve? And I'm your host, Isaac. You gotta dance.
And this is Seth. What's the first thing an actor learns? The show must go on. Come rain, come shine, come snow, come sleet. The show must go on.
Very true words right there. It is great to see you, Seth. Just as a reminder for ones at home, what is Grandma putting on for us to watch today?
1952, Singin' in the Rain.
Okay, so if you have not seen this movie, we are going to be breaking it down, giving our experiences, revisiting this film. So if you do not want it spoiled, consider it spoiler territory going forward. You have been warned. Well, while Grandma's messing around with that VCR, let's take a look at some film facts that's on the back of the case. So Singin' in the Rain was released back on April 11th, 1952. It is officially the oldest movie we have considered so far. The budget, $2.54 million. The box office, $7.2 million. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb is at a 8.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, this is also a first for our podcast. 100%. The first time a film has gotten 100%. Letterboxd, 4.3 out of 5. Currently, as of this recording, you can watch it for free on HBO Max. It stars Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, Gene Hagen, and many more. Last but not least, we have to hear, how does Grandma feel about this one?
Granny's family-friendly rating for Singin' in the Rain is a B for smoking and adult themes.
All right, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So if you have seen this film, we want to hear what you would rate it. Any memories that you have, be sure to comment down below. Well, let's get into this, Seth. I'm really interested to hear, what are your first memories with, again, the oldest film that we have considered on the podcast?
So I think I saw parts of this as a kid. However, I don't think I saw the entire film until now. But I went into this thinking it was a Dick Van Dyke movie, and I kept waiting for him to show up, and I looked at the credits, and I was waiting for his name to show up, and I'm like, where's Dick Van Dyke? Like, I thought he was in all the musicals back then.
We've done a few musicals, and he's a good chunk of them, actually. So I don't blame you there of like getting that confusion. And again, 1952, that's well before our time. So it's, it's understandable. I do that all the time, though, where I get like actors confused with one. But that's hilarious. I think back on my first memories, though, growing up, this was kind of in the background at Grandma's. This was definitely a movies at Grandma's house. My mom, especially, I do think she would put it on if we did watch it at home. It was kind of in the background. I'm just thinking when I was younger, I didn't hold my attention, but I still have those memories of it kind of there, if that makes sense. So with that said, what were your expectations coming back to this one?
So I tried to have a level expectations. However, I was really looking forward to this one. So it's kind of like trying to push those expectations down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. I understand. You have to put yourself in a situation that this was, again, the 50s, that this film was made. It's not going to be apples to apples. That was my expectations too. I go back to those memories I have watching it, but I was like, it has been years since I had seen it. So I was trying to keep my expectations, like you were saying. This is an older film. And of course, how are my kids going to feel about this? Not only is it an older film, but yes, it's a musical. They are not fond of musicals. So I was interested to see what their reaction would be as well. Well, before we get into Plot Rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors. Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today. All right, let's take the VHS out of the cover. Let's put it in the VCR and press play.
During the silent film era, a successful acting duo are about to transition into the talkies, but quickly realize the female actress voice is less than pleasant. They decide to hire another woman to voice her part. Will it all work out, or will it be an embarrassing failure? Find out as Grandma puts on another classic film.
Very well put. This is considered a classic. We're going to talk about it more, but this, again, I go back to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got some good reviews going on, but we got to get down to how does it feel looking at it today? And I will say you have to go into it like this is 1950s and the film is taking place in the 1920s. So you're going backwards and then you're going backwards again. I find that really interesting right off the bat. It's putting you in this whole different world. At least for me, when I'm watching it, I'm like, this is just completely different. Like it's before our time, but going back all those years, it's just really fascinating to me seeing those types of movies. But I'm interested to hear what's your first impressions as you're watching the movie.
So to be honest, at times it was a bit slow, but that being said, this movie was all about the characters and songs, but this time it's not approaching 3 hours. So it might hold your attention a little better.
That's a big perk, right? Like the musicals around this time period, at least the 60s especially, was those 2.5, 3 hours. This is about an hour and a half. So that is a big plus. I was thinking, okay, how long is this going to be before I watched it? And then when I looked it up, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, like, okay, this isn't going to be your Sound of Music where it's, pushing 3 hours. And I do feel like what you're saying, it can be slow at times. But with that runtime, it's not too slow. I didn't get that impression. Did you feel that way too?
Yeah, exactly what you said. There were little like lulls, I would say, and it's probably the dialogue. It wasn't the delivery or anything like that. But then like the action would come out with the different songs, and it would transition well into the next scene. So yeah, I think it went really, really well. It's just a minor gripe.
Right. I will say there's not all the songs are there's kind of a slower ones, and we'll get into that because we obviously have to talk about the songs. But going back to the plot, you were kind of touching on it. What did you think about this idea of it's around the time of color and actual audio in movies? That was kind of the premise, the driving point of the plot. But what did you think of the story overall?
So I think that it was a brilliant idea for the film. It makes you wonder like what the transition was like in that time period, like adding audio to the movie tracks. So that it made me think about the production, like the behind the scenes and all that goes into making films, especially, back in the day, and how difficult that must have been.
It's like we've lived through our technological advances over the years. And you think like the internet, that's the big one. But there's other things of like television and music, radio isn't what it used to be. That was the form you would go for music most of the time. Now you can get it anytime. But it puts you back in that. Exactly. I like how you put that. Just you're putting yourself in that situation. Like, what was it like watching movies without sound, talking? It was silent films. And I like how they played off of that because it's not a drama. It's actually comedic because it turns out the one actress, Lena, has a really screeching voice. They make that funny and comedic about it. But I enjoyed that. I really like that story. And it also, you're not breaking the fourth wall, but it's a premise of a production, these actors and performers making movies. So you're seeing them make these movies, but it's a movie of you watching them make it. So I don't know. It's like this weird loop that goes around, but I like when they pull it off, and they do a good job with it on the story. And again, like you were mentioning there in the plot summary, you have Lena, the one that has the bad voice. Don is the main character. That's Gene Kelly, which we'll have to get into the characters more. But that story of, she has this bad voice and sound comes out, but they end up giving it to Kelly. She's the one that is really singing. So I like that. I don't know. I was actually drawn in on that. What you were saying, it was kind of slow, and I was a little worried. I was like, am I going to be drawn in with this one as much as, some musicals can be slow? But it picked it up. I was really enjoying the story overall. We got to get into the characters. Like, we're kind of dancing around that. So what did you think of the characters?
So I always talk about the names of the actors. I never mention the character name. So you got Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor. I felt like they really carried the film. They were a tour de force with what they were able to do. Just standing out with all the numbers they had to do, and just an amazing amount of chops they had for acting out while they're singing and dancing these ridiculously elaborate dances. It's just pretty much impossible to make a movie like that today. To the degree they did it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And it goes back to, you put yourself in that situation. Now, the fictional part of it, like the sound, but also making of this actual movie, Gene Kelly co-directed it. So he was also helping with the dance numbers, with the singing and the way it was shot, the way they, are telling the plot, the things that are going on with the songs. And I really just am fascinated by that. Like you said, it's just incredible to think this was 1952. And what was it? I want to put myself in that situation. Like, when this movie came out, what was that like? What kind of experience would that be, going to see a movie like this? Because obviously there's movies with CGI and all this stuff going on. This was more authentic. This felt refreshing. I don't know. It's an old movie, but it felt like a breath of fresh air in a way, because of the way you said that. It's not like movies are made this way anymore. I was reading that this was considered one of the happiest movies of all time. I don't know if you read that, but it was interesting. Like, yeah, it is. I have to bash modern movies a little bit. They almost have to be dark and sad, and there's always something traumatic. This is just a fun and happy time. Did you pick up on like the happy elements of it?
I could tell there was some frustration in some of the scenes, but then they always transitioned it into something positive.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Like what you said was perfect. They always moved it into like a happy place. They didn't go to any extremes of drama or sadness or anything. Like what that was the normal back then, and I think that kind of is the normal today even. So it does stand out as more positive, yeah, for sure.
Right. I like there's conflict, right? Because Lena is, again, she's like feeling there's something between her and Don, Gene Kelly's character, but he doesn't like her. He can't stand her. And then he meets Kelly, and he starts to have an interest in her, but she's more of like, it's not a showgirl. What was her? She was just kind of like a singer, dancer kind of a thing. Like, they meet up later on in the film.
I think she's a background singer.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's probably terms that they were saying, and I
can't
went over my head.
I meant to write that down. I'm sorry.
Because I was thinking there's probably lingo of what they referred to her, but she shows up at like that party that she's singing and dancing, but then she's also, like you said, a backup singer, and there's that conflict that's there. But I enjoy that it doesn't, like you say, it's still on a happy note of, this is going to give you a story where they're overcoming things, because Lena gets Kelly fired. I actually enjoyed that scene, as kind of dark as it was. If you want to talk about something that's dark, is Don finds out that he got her fired from her job doing that dancing and such. And they still have to act out the scene of that movie. It was like the Cavalier, and he's just like talking through his teeth, like, I would break every bone in your body if I could, because he's so mad at her for getting Kelly fired. So those kinds of things I was still appreciating. It was still happy and on the lighter side, but they did have the conflict mixed in there nicely. And yeah, I mean, there's just so much we could talk about with the music. I think that's how we have to transition. What did you think of the music? Because we've done our musicals so far. So I'm interested. What did you think of this musical?
I can't really fault it. It's interesting because I try to be critical when it comes to this stuff because it's so well praised. And I want it to be a fresh, clean slate and not put my own stuff on it. But on the other end, I want to enjoy it as well. So when I came to this, I had no expectations other than Singing in the Rain, like the actual song. I knew some of the songs, I was familiar with them, but I didn't really know them going into it. I was pleasantly surprised how good the songs were. They were really well written. At that, I would say the movie was well written as well. It's a great concept. But yeah, the songs, I can't think of all the names of them, but I can't find fault with them.
I'm with you. I was kind of holding back a little bit, but I have to say this was probably some of my favorite songs that we've considered in a musical. I will go out on that limb and say it because we've had some good songs. I mean, we've gone through a few musicals, but that's my take.
Another thing is they weren't lingering either. They kind of moved on really quickly, and that's something that I kind of had fault with a lot of the other ones. Some of them were like 8 minutes long. I mean,
yeah.
This picture moved quite quickly after that very intro. Like that it didn't stick around. It kind of just kept going and going. It was like a snowball.
That is true. And maybe that's a part of why the runtime is shorter. You know, other musicals that are longer, they tend to draw those out. And that's the thing. You're going to sign up for a musical. You want singing. You should know there's going to be singing in it. But this is, I like how you put that. It doesn't linger. It almost gives you the respect as a viewer of like, you've got this song, it's moving the plot along, and we can move on. We can just enjoy the atmosphere. I don't know. I was more immersed in this even as much as it's feeling like Broadway a little bit at times. It still brought me into that world. I felt more immersed compared to some of the other musicals we've considered. I really liked you were mentioning like you couldn't remember the song titles. I actually looked up the soundtrack because I was like, I want to know some of the name of some of the songs. You have Make 'Em Laugh. That one is more on the wacky side, definitely more overly happy. I could see people being like, oh, that annoys me. I thought it was good, but what did you think of it?
I thought it was cute. It was well acted. That's the thing about this movie is the songs weren't bad, but the acting was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so and the dance numbers and it was like I'm heaping a lot of praise on. I was trying to save that for the end. Yeah, I can't really find fault with any of the songs. I can't.
Yeah. That one and maybe the Moses song because they're repeating themselves. Like I could see that one. But overall, I agree.
But it was clever.
Right.
It was clever.
They were doing like tongue twisters leading up to it. So if they would have came out the gate starting that song, I think it would have, it was harsh. But they're doing tongue twisters that lead up to it and kind of ease you into it. So I do appreciate that. But that one maybe was a little bit much, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun little song there. But one of my favorites, we'll have to kind of expound on Singing in the Rain itself because it's the title. The Broadway melody, I really, really like that one. It's kind of towards the end. That's where it's, you gotta dance. That one, I don't know what it was. The colors, they make it look like Broadway and all that. I really like that one. I forgot about that one. Like you were saying, you're kind of familiar with the songs. When it came out, I was like, it was like a core memory unlocked because of all the colors. It was like I could put myself as a little child watching it. But what'd you think of that song?
I really liked it. What I couldn't understand is how they were able to produce that scene. Like the behind the scenes, like, I don't know how they were able to do that. That's just amazing at 1952. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some tricks they had. But it just looked really great. I know the version that I watched, it was crystal clear. I mean, I'm sure it was re-released or something. It wasn't the original take because it was so crystal clear, but the picture actually looked really well. And so I really dug that whole sequence.
That's what was impressive. Again, 1952, I just couldn't get over like it's just colorful. It's energetic and I was finding myself singing along to it too. It's catchy songs. It just has catchy songs throughout. But yeah, anything else? Just kind of leave it open to you that you wanted to touch on.
Couple things. There was a couple quotes. So I like the one where they say, "She can't act, she can't sing, she can't dance. A triple threat." And then also, did somebody get paid for writing that dialogue? But really, what stood out to me in this film, and it's spoiler, I'm going to give that away because this is the ending pretty much. So a scene that stuck with me was, spoiler again, when they revealed that she was the real voice behind the curtain. Literally, um, so much emotion was going on in that scene, and when they were fighting over what to do and what to plan and how to have her sing behind, and then deciding to give her credit where it was due. There's so much going on, and I loved how she runs off the stage and then he yells to stop her. She's crying, but he announces that she is the real star. It's just brilliant storytelling and wonderful, wonderful acting.
Yeah. Yeah. Gene Kelly, I really enjoy him as an actor, and he just comes across as this charming character. Again, he's carrying it, but that's a scene where I like that. It's like, no, stop her. She needs to be, he's giving her the highlight she deserved because she was in that situation where she was under contract, but Lena caught on that, oh, you're voicing over me, you're dubbing over me. And, now she's caught in a situation. But I love that scene because it was catching her in the act. Again, she's behind the curtain and they're even like, what song are you going to sing? The audience thinking it's her singing, Lena. And she like backs up to the curtain and Kathy's telling her the song and what key. I mean, that's great. And then the payoff is great, like you mentioned there. But yeah, the songs, I mean, Good Morning. We didn't really talk about that one. That's another song. I caught myself like I've sang that to myself for years.
I didn't know it was from this film.
You didn't?
I didn't know. I assumed it was a standard song from Americana. I didn't know. So I was educated by this one.
Yeah, I've caught myself, it's the morning, obviously. You say good morning, good morning. That's a song I love, but I would say my highlight is Singing in the Rain, obviously. It lives up to the name for me. And I think back on not only growing up watching it, this is a weird memory I have, but I remember in Disney World, it would be Hollywood Studios now. It might have been called something else. There was this ride, it was just called like the movies, and it would take you through this conveyor, kind of like a lot of the Disney rides do. And it was like animatronics acting out scenes, like the Wizard of Oz is there. But I remember the Singing in the Rain. It's where Gene Kelly's on the light post and he's swinging out and he's acting it out. That memory is with me for some reason. But this was recognized as kind of a legendary sing of seeing Gene Kelly in the rain and singing, and he's on that light pole. I'll go out and say it might be one of my favorite scenes of movies we've covered so far. I don't know what it is, but it's so inviting. It just is entertaining. As much as it's just a guy singing in the rain, there's a lot of levels to that song. And I don't think you appreciate it when you're younger. Now being older, that layer of, life and things going on. It's raining, it's pouring. You have all these things around you, but yet you stay positive. You sing in the rain. It's going back to, this is considered one of the happiest movies. With a song like that, Singing in the Rain, how can it not be? So I really love the song. That's one of my favorites of the musicals we've covered. I mean, what else is there to say? It's what you're going to see on the posters. It's what you're going to see everywhere. That's what it is. What did you think of that scene, though? Singing in the Rain, because obviously it's the title of the film.
Well, I have a fun fact early. He had 103 temperature when he did that scene.
Oh, wow.
And he went ahead and performed it anyway. And I guess it really is iconic. It's kind of what you think of when you think of musicals. I mean, I think of that and The Sound of Music when I think of musicals. So yeah, it stood out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, like Sound of Music, you think of The Hills Are Alive, Singing in the Rain. You're going to just see Gene Kelly, but it still holds up to me. Maybe people will go like, that's it. But if you just are enjoying the movie, it just somehow transitions really well. I found myself enjoying it more so as an adult. I think as a kid, you're so distracted with stuff, but I found myself having a great time with it. So I don't know what else to say about it. It was just kind of an interesting experience coming back to it and watching it as an adult. Okay. Well, you were mentioning some fun facts. You gave a little tease, but I got to have more. So what you got?
All right. So at 19, Debbie Reynolds lived with her parents and commuted to the set. She had to wake up at 4 a.m. to ride 3 buses to the studio. Can you believe that?
Sounds like her character in the movie.
I didn't know she was that young. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
She didn't look that young, that's for sure.
It didn't to me either. No.
I guess it's because I'm older now. I'm getting older. I'm like, all those youngins.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
The next one I just added because we were talking about, it made me think of something I read earlier today. So Gene Kelly was kind of a bear on set. He was a perfectionist. This is not something I wrote down, but this is something I read. It kept coming up over and over again how strict he was about every scene and dance number, and how he kept wanting them to do more and more. And even at one point, Debbie Reynolds like bursted veins in her vessels in her foot or something, and he demanded more and more out of her. Just crazy stuff. Like I couldn't believe it because in the movie he seems so nice,
yes,
and so kind, and I'm like, wow, he's a good actor.
Isn't that funny? That's the same thing I was thinking. I'm like, he's just this charming character in there, and he bounces off of Cosmo. That's his friend. We didn't really touch on his character too much, but I really love Cosmo. He seems like that best friend. He was always jumping in, supporting, and doing stuff, and he had that great energy. Like we talked about, make him laugh. That's kind of his number, and he's just funny and entertaining. But Gene Kelly just bounces off of that so well because you have him as kind of the silly comic relief in a way, and then Gene Kelly's kind of this suave and very just your man's man almost. Yeah, and then you hear that behind the scenes, and you do wonder, like, oh, was he kind of hated in real life because of his perfectionism? Sounds like it, unfortunately.
Which honestly does happen a lot with directors. So right. I don't blame them. I think it's funny because it kept coming up over and over, and I was like, I'm not going to mention this, but then I thought about it while we were recording, and I'm like, I have to.
Yeah. It turned out great. What can we say, right? It worked out. I mean, not good experience for people with it, maybe, but I think it turned out great.
The next one was the screenwriters Betty and Adolph bought a house in Hollywood from a former silent film star who lost his wealth with the invention of talkies. This was a large inspiration for the film.
Interesting. Okay, now it's making a little more sense, but that's really cool. I love when they draw inspiration from things like that.
So it's not the whole story, but it's a big part of the story. So I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Another real quick one was the original negative of the film was destroyed in a fire.
Oh, wow. So is this kind of like that Toy Story 2, like somebody had an extra copy of it?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'd have to investigate. But that's like a crazy story because of how much money they invested in this film. So
I can't imagine. Wow. But they must have had a backup because obviously we wouldn't be watching it today. That's still crazy though.
So it's time for our fun fact trivia question. Are you ready?
I'm singing in the rain and I'm I'm ready.
Okay. So true or false? And you brought this up, so I'm glad I picked this one. The Broadway ballet sequence took a month to rehearse and 2 weeks to shoot, costing $600,000. True or false? Keep in mind, 1952.
So remind me, like you said the ballet sing, like
it's the whole I'm sorry, it's Broadway ballet. It's Broadway.
The Broadway. Okay, I'm following you now. That I think it's true. I mean, for how much production was put into it, it's got to be true.
It's true.
Yes.
$600,000 back then. Could you imagine?
That's insane.
I can't even begin to fathom.
No, but it makes sense when you see it, the final product, so to say, like 1952, that still was fascinating to me today watching it. Maybe it's just me, but I was like thinking in my mind, I'm like, I'm enjoying the scene. And then my mind did wander like, what lengths did they go to get this to turn out the way it did? So not surprising. It's still incredible, but it's not surprising when you see it. It's just still really cool. All right. Well,
I just wonder what they spend on those scenes like that nowadays. Like, is it still that big of a deal or is it less of a finance?
They just CGI it, there wouldn't be any practical, like it would. Unfortunately,
And they don't hire that many dancers anymore.
No.
If you've noticed in the newer musicals, they don't hire.
No. Maybe they learned their lesson. They were like, we sunk so much money into this, we can't do that again. I don't know, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth it. Maybe, again, going back to maybe it wasn't fun shooting because you got Gene Kelly yelling at you and it's a really expensive take. You got to get it right. So, but I guess we reap the benefits of enjoying the scene. I did anyway. So, all right. Well, Singing in the Rain, like I said, I'm on the winner's side of the trivia, at least this time. Well, before we get to our rating, we like to look around the net to see what kind of ratings are out there. We touched on the critics. That, again, I'm still astounded, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But we like to look at user reviews too. So, Seth, what kind of reviews you seen out there?
The first one that comes from Told You So said, the title alone will have you humming the song. 9 out of 10.
100% agree with that. You can't help but hum the theme. It's catchy as all get out. It lives up to its name. Yeah, that's a good one.
Preppy-3 says, one of the best Hollywood musicals, 10 out of 10.
There you go. It's just like the reviews we're seeing out there, but I mean, that's understandable.
The last one was Movie Addict 2016 said, what a glorious feeling indeed, 9 out of 10.
Love it. Yes, it is a glorious feeling when you watch this movie. I don't know how you can't. Maybe you're just having the most terrible day, but even then, I would think this would brighten up your day. What a glorious feeling indeed. So that's great. Well, we also like to put this through the kid test, and this might be one of the shortest kid tests ever, I will admit here. So, spoiler warning, none of my kids really liked it. They don't like musicals. I don't need to break it down. I have a 10-year-old, I have a 8-year-old, 6 and a 3, and I was trying to like, hey, let's watch. I know it's an older one, but it just did not hold their attention. But that's all I can say. They kind of lost interest in it. Might be just too old. And I go back to, I appreciate this much more as an adult. I think I was like them where it didn't hold my attention. I can have those core memories of watching it. But, that's where I go back to for the kid test. Maybe for kids, this is going to be a tough watch. Not that there's bad content. I mean, there's some here and there. We talked about like there's the smoking and a few adult themes here, but they're mild compared to others of today you probably see. But it might be a tough watch for kids. At least the kid test that I put them through, it was a tough watch. So just keep that in mind. But let's get to what is everybody's waiting for. The important question of how are we going to rate this? So I'm going to start with you, Seth. Ask you the question for Singing in the Rain. How are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
It's that time again indeed. I really liked this film a lot, and I was almost on the fence. The songs were surprisingly good, the dance numbers were wonderful, and the acting was great. I will say it's a bit dated, and that it really is that's really only the negative thing I could think of and come up with. I was happy to rewatch it, and I'm going to watch this at grandma's, hoping that it's not too long before we see it again.
Very nice. I'm not going to hide anything back. I'm going to be almost 100% with you, actually, because I feel like the music is fantastic. This is everything that you would want in a musical to me. I'll say this is, if it's not my favorite, it's up there for the musicals we've considered. It lives up to the name. If you're looking at it from a movie standpoint, you get why it gets the reviews. For me personally, I'm not a musical guy. And I will agree, it does show its age at times. It's a little dated. The pacing at times we were talking about, it's a little slower. But it's still a fantastic movie even today. I, with high respect, high regard, give this a watch it at grandma's. And I feel like it almost matches that because, like I said, I grew up watching it at grandma's. My mom would put it on from time to time. This is just a great movie to put on every once in a while. That's no disrespect. It's just one I'm not going to watch all the time. Like, I want to watch this. It almost feels like you're catching up with an old friend when you go back to this, if that makes sense. It's refreshing. So that's how I want to put it, respectfully. But I think I'm surprised. I was like, I wonder how Seth's going to feel about this with the musicals, but that's awesome. I'm like almost 100% with you on that.
So I think this is the first time is it the first time or second time we've agreed on a musical? Yeah, it's one of them for sure.
We-
I will say this.
Yeah.
I the first time I watched it twice. I was, let's watch this at grandma's. The second time I was like, I might take this home. I might take this home. And then a couple days went by and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch this every day. So I'll watch it at grandma's because if I come back and it's on, I'll be happy. And that's what that is. And so it's a perfect, like you said, watch it at grandma's.
I 100% agree with you. It's also, it holds up, but probably if you watched it back then, this might have been like a take it home because of the time. This is wow, this is just amazing. I still think it holds up. It's so great to revisit. But like you said, I agree with you. It's not like I'm going to watch it all the time. It just shows its age at times, but that's still no disrespect. I cannot stress like how blown away I was coming back to this, how well made. You just can't imagine 1952, the lengths they had to go to. You didn't have CGI and all these other effects. That was practical, but I loved every minute of that. I love the practical effects. They hold up so much better.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, there you go, folks. We've considered another film, another musical at that. But before we wrap things up, Seth, why don't you tell the good people where they can find and connect with us?
You can find us at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also on TikTok at LADX Media. And email us at movies@grandmashouse@gmail.com. We have a wonderful newsletter, so check that out. We are revamping our Patreon, so check that out as well. With new tiers for our loyal fans. As always, we are brought to you by movieposters.com, so please use code Grandma's House at checkout for up to 15% off.
There you go. Yeah, like Seth mentioned, we have a lot of things in the oven cooking, so to say. And one way that if you want to get in on the fun, because we've got our giveaways, we've got movieposters.com, free poster every month. All you got to do is be on our newsletter. We're also going to have some goodies on Patreon. We are so excited. We're going to be releasing that as time goes on. So if you want to be up to date as those goodies, those surprises that we want to come out with, be sure you sign up. You can also sign up on Patreon for free. But if you want to help support the podcast, be sure you get on there because there's a tier for everybody, as they say. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's. But don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.